gentlemen, this meeting of the East Penn Board of School Directors is called to order. Will you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first order of business is request to address the board. I have three. First, Ms. Sigourney Coyle on the letter from the Department of Justice and the Department of Education on transgender rights.
I thank you for your time and consideration. My name is Sigourney Coyle. I will be going into 9th grade, and I will be in high school, obviously. I'm here to discuss the letter that Obama sent. It said two things. You can't make a transgender change in a private facility because it's discrimination and segregation. It also said you can't make a transgender change in front of someone who they don't identify with. But if you put my name in there, or just generally the people, you can't make me change in a private facility. I am a woman and I identify as a woman, and you can't make me change in front of someone who I don't identify with, who is physically male. Gym requires for us to participate to pass high school, and if I don't change, I am not allowed to participate. So my options are let myself be discriminated against, or fail gym for not participating and not pass through high school, which would jeopardize my future. Mr. Miller at Emmaus High School gave me an accommodation to move gym to the summer to give everything to be figured out, but the Supreme Court says that this is not a law. This was just a letter. He does not have the power to cut funding. He doesn't. And it's actually breaking the law of Pennsylvania that lets everyone entitled to privacy. And that would open you to a lawsuit potentially. I don't know from who. And I really like this this pen. Excuse me. It's given me a lot of opportunities to do so much things, and I've really enjoyed my time here, and I know I will for the rest of my time here. And I'd hate for anything bad to happen. And I also feel nothing against transgenders. I know some, and I don't have anything wrong with them. I just would not like their rights to overrule my own. We are equals. They are not better, and I am not better. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Next I have Ms. Erin Coyle, also on the same issue.
Thank you. I don't want to take up much time because I think she covered quite a bit of it successfully. The Supreme Court has made several rulings against this exact sort of thing being enforced. The state of Pennsylvania has school codes that give students a right to bodily privacy. That's the way that it's worded in the statutes, and forcing them to be put in a situation, whether they're transgender or not, with people who are not biologically the same. I feel that really violates the bodily privacy that they've been promised by the state of Pennsylvania. Also, at least 5 other federal and state court decisions, including the federal district court case in Pennsylvania, and 2 decisions from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals have rejected the argument made by Obama that a man who identifies as a girl must be permitted to use bathrooms, locker rooms, showers of the opposite sex. So a lot of 11 states, many Supreme Courts, they're standing up against this, saying there has to be a better accommodation. I do feel that it would be very difficult to be a middle school student who's already going through so many changes, to also be transgender and have to deal with that as well. They do deserve some sort of accommodation. I think that that's very important to be said, but it just shouldn't infringe upon the rights and privacy of everybody else. There's a lot of different methods that people are trying. Some schools are having transgender students go to the locker room of their choosing 15 minutes prior to gym class, which gives them time and also not exposure to anyone else in their difficult situation. Some are allowing them private use facilities, although right now the courts are still trying to figure out if that's really discrimination or segregation. So it's really up in the air, but the real concern that she touched on is that because right now the Supreme Courts are saying no, we can't enforce this, it didn't actually have the full force of the law, it was really just Obama's interpretation of an existing law in Title IX, that it does potentially open the school up to an incident happening. Hopefully not, that would be terrible, but I just wanted to come forward. I've got a couple of articles. I don't know who I could give them to. I didn't make enough copies for everybody.
If you could give them to the board secretary, please.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you so much for your time.
thank you. Next, we have Mr. John Donches on the memorandum of understanding.
Hello, members of the board. This has to do with like the memorandum of understanding, and just one part of it, which I'm questioning, I guess. It was talked about last time here that as far as workers' comp coverage and the heart and lung, which is a unique thing to, I guess, police. I went down to see Shane Pepe, who's the borough manager here, and in talking with him, he brought up that, from what I can understand and get out of it, for the police and police only, their workers' comp only covers actual medical problems. The salary is covered 100% by the heart and lung. So it was mentioned here that, well, it covers like that little third extra. Normally that would be true. Most people it covers salary also. But it seems that for the police, it's a unique situation, and that's why they have that heart and lung. That covers the salary. So in this situation that you have, if anything happens, workers' comp comes up and he needs to go out for a while and collect any kind of salary, that will be, from my understanding, 100% on the school, and the workers' comp will be on the borough. You can check that out to make sure, but from my understanding, that's what it is. And if there's anything that happens, supposedly that's how it'll go. Just to let you know. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I have no other requests to address the board, so I'll entertain a motion on the approval of minutes, please.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the report of the superintendent, Dr. Schiller.
Thank you, and good evening, everybody. First of all, I'd like to start out with an enrollment update. As of August 15th, we had 8,017 students. That's 75 more than I reported on August 1st. Most of those came at the elementary level. We, as I had indicated to you 2 weeks ago, we have a couple of class size issues that we are concerned about, and we've actually addressed 2 of those issues. Class sizes at 4th grade at Willow, as well as 2nd grade at McCungie be addressed with a transfer, and tonight on the addendum you will see a request to hire a teacher to address the issue. And we're still watching Willow first grade very closely. They are definitely higher than what last time I reported. They're now at 27 and 28. The problem we're up against right now is the timing. It is very late to try to split that into another position, and so we are still holding on that. If enrollment in the next couple of days, and certainly the first day of school, goes much higher than that, then I'll have to come back to the board and ask for another teaching position to split those grades. But that would be quite a delay in terms of recruitment, and we would have a long-term sub or a substitute in there for probably almost the first marking period until we could actually get a teacher, which is another reason why we're just holding on that right now and making do. So that's the situation with class sizes. Also wanted to bring it to the board's and everybody else's attention that Eric McAfee, Director of Community Planning for the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, will be making a presentation to the board on at the September 12th public meeting. He'll be talking, I've met with him several times. Laura Groh and I actually attended a presentation. He then came in and made a presentation to our administrative team, and I've asked him to do the same thing to the Board of Education, basically talking about development in the East Bend area, East Bend School District area, projections and so forth. And I thought that might be interesting for you to hear. And today we had our district day. District day is the first day for staff to come back. We had that, all teachers gathered in the auditorium at the high school. We heard presentations from Mr. Earnshaw, myself, Susan Arnold, the PEA president, and East Penn Foundation representatives Sal Verostro and Heather Slatoff. They actually introduced not only the foundation, but they announced that the foundation's first project is funding teacher grants. And so they extended the opportunity for teachers to apply for a $300 mini grant in the area of STEAM, which is of course the theme for the foundation. And that was very well received and very much appreciated. Again, we're thrilled with the formation of the foundation and some of the projects they have in mind for now and in the future. And continuing with this week with the district day today, teachers then returned to their buildings in the afternoon, and there was professional development in the afternoon. There will be professional development Tuesday and Wednesday. On Thursday, there is a new teacher orientation at 8:45 here at the Admin Building. Then, of course, the first day for students is next Monday, and we are ready. Transportation's ready, staffing is ready, and we're excited about the first year. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Schilder. Any questions or comments for Dr. Schilder? Ms. Al?
Yes, I was fortunate to be able to go this morning, and I enjoyed every minute of it. It was a motivator for me, and I'm sure it was for the teachers too, so I thank you for putting that together. And I have another suggestion. I might have mentioned it before as far as these class sizes go. Willow Lane has had big class sizes in first grade for several years, and the students are good students for the most part. You might have a couple that need a little help, but many of the children are very good. And my experience had been at my school in Livingston, New Jersey, when we had 22 in a class. Anything over 22 would allow a support service person to come in, either a half a day, if it was a pretty good class, or a full day. So that's something that I had to think about as opposed to hire. It is a difficult time to get somebody new in right now, so it might hold the fort down until January.
Thank you for that suggestion. We are actually looking at that. We're also looking at the number of students who actually leave the classroom for English language arts as well as math for special services. And of course, if you have students leaving, that decreases the class size for those two very important subjects. So all that is being factored in. But certainly, if we really feel the need to have a support person, that would be a new position. I would come back to the board with that as a recommendation. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to mention last week, the athletic department held their fall meeting on concussions and sudden cardiac arrest. It was attended by over 700 parents. I thought that it was a very good meeting that Dennis Ramallah put on. We had two very good speakers, one from the High Valley Health Network on cardiac arrest, who evidently does a lot of work with professional soccer and other athletes. And then a woman from Orthopedic Associates on concussions. So I thought it was very informative. I appreciate Dennis setting that up, and I hope that obviously next year they improve on it where they can. And he also mentioned that the whole thing will be put on the website for those parents who could not attend. So it's available for people to see what this is.
Thank you. Ms. Lloyd?
Thank you. Dr. Childers, for these new teachers and classes here, Makunji going from 3 sections to 4 in 7th grade, and Willow going 4 sections to 5. The buildings are able to accommodate these new classrooms?
Yes, they are.
In days gone by, we had to put art on a cart. But
No, I would let you know if we had to do something like that. No, we had extra rooms in those buildings.
Thank you.
Any other comments or discussion? All right, thank you, everyone. Next, we have item 5, personnel, including the addendum. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Any discussion on that?
I just need a quick refresh. I know that for the budget, we approved a special education position. And was it a full-time elementary teacher?
No. Originally, I came to the board with, I believe, a recommendation for 2, what I call it, the kind of floating positions. Both were ruled out.
So it was just a special ed?
Yes, we did have an.
So an extra special ed?
We had the ESL teacher who you had to hire
Right
during
before
the
we did
last.
the budget.
Right, but that's not special ed.
It wasn't.
Linda, do you remember
ESL.
special ed? I
Yeah,
don't remember an extra
it
special ed
was-
position.
It was the ESL
That was
teacher who was
ESL.
hired during the year, the previous year. So that was the budgeted position, the previous.
I hear that, but that's ESL, English as a second language. I think we're talking about
Okay.
special ed.
So it was not, I can't remember, so it was an ESL. And we had, even though we budgeted for that, I thought I remembered it on your list, and I even brought it up at a meeting, I said, it shows that you need an ESL.
Yes,
You
no,
only
definitely.
beforehand, before the
Yes.
budget was passed.
That's right.
But the budget held that position basically,
That's correct, because it had been added the previous year, in the
Okay.
middle of the year.
so you would be, so that, if I'm looking at this, Hannah Holster is a new position, and I'm also looking at Danielle Swafford is a new position. And they were unbudgeted?
All right. Maybe we can clarify with special ed. Linda.
Yes, I'll speak to the Hannah Polster position. Last year, we had behavioral support from the IU, so it was a behavioral support personnel that was supporting one of our students in autistic support. The IU could not fill that position this year. And so they said that, we would have to determine support elsewhere. So Dr. Schiller and I had a conversation, and we could hire our own person at a lower rate. So what we're paying for this person is half the salary of what we were paying for the IU.
Thank you.
And then I do recall we had in the budget $100,000 for special education staff. And that was due to a possible increase at Makunji Elementary in the functional learning support position. But we did not need that position because we ended up placing a student in an IU program, so that money shifted to the IU budget.
Yeah, it was the same money, which is why I couldn't take it out. As Dr. Perry just explained, we had to pay that money anyway to the IU, the same service. But thank you for refreshing my memory on that. And, okay, so Hannah Polster is an instructional assistant, and while it's a new position, it's in the budget. It's covered in the budget. financially.
It was under the IU, yes, that one for the services for IU. And then the new position, it looks like instructional one, grades paying 34. That one's budgeted? Recall.
Who's the name?
Danielle.
Okay, that's for the grade 2 McCungy elementary school position. That's what I was just talking about in terms
Now,
of,
unbudgeted, but
That's
you're
correct.
asking that we might need another one off of this one.
we might, but I
Okay.
haven't asked for that yet. That's the one we're holding on.
And you feel we're okay, budget-wise, to hire
Yes.
teacher?
The reason I feel we're okay is because I had submitted to the board an analysis of revenue, state aid, and it turns out we're getting $144,000 more in the state aid than what we originally anticipated. We learned about this just a few weeks ago. So that's where the increase comes. Not that I'm looking to spend that, but if I have to make a recommendation for a new position, that thing, somebody says, well, where are you getting the money from? That would be my answer.
Okay. I don't know, once again, because my mind is foggy, from what I thought from one of our studies is that we were actually looking at a decrease. And I know that it's all kind of guessing and trying to figure things out. If we would then eventually have a decrease and not as much need for instructors at that level, would these teachers be able to move to a different grade level to help out with that rather than, hiring them at the high school level or hiring all of these students?
They can't move from elementary to high school because their certificate doesn't allow them to do that. You could make those transfers within level, within the elementary level or the secondary level. But of course, the secondary level is a little more complicated because of the subject area and expertise that's needed. The elementary, yes. In fact, that's exactly what we did to address one of the class size issues. We made a transfer from another building where class size there was lower than what we're used to. It was lower than what it needed to be, and that's what we made the transfer. And we would continue to look at that. I did say that class size at the elementary level, and I remember this months ago, I was predicting was going to be in much better shape this year, and that's still true. The class sizes in all of the buildings, with the exceptions of the areas I've just pointed out to you, are lower than they have been for the past 5 years. So we are in much better shape with class size than I've seen, and with the exception of those 2 or 3 areas that we just had an enrollment spike.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on that, Mr.
Can I
Brown?
just ask a question in reference to the conversation that was going on? Dr. Schilder, you had said certificate limits a teacher from going from grade school to high school. Can you go the other way around? No.
Well, it can if the teacher is dual certificate. So if they have the coursework necessary and they pass the appropriate practice exams at both levels, then yes, they're certificated to teach at one level, but most don't.
That's likely to happen from elementary to middle school, which is a secondary certificate. But you'll find a teacher, the difference between 5th grade and 6th grade or 5th grade and 7th grade. Rare that you find that somebody has dual certification, high school, bio, and general elementary ed.
Any other discussion on the motion? Mrs. Allen, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Champagne?
Aye.
Ms. Fuller? Dr. Bacher?
Aye.
Mr. Donatelli?
Aye.
Ms. Hyde? Ms. Earnshaw?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Motion carries. Mr. Don Kelly asked me to separate out a number of items under section 6. So we'll start with the motion on 6A, the list, please.
So moved.
Okay, discussion on the motion? Mrs. Allen, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Fuller? Dr. Bacher?
Aye.
Mr. Donatelli?
Aye.
Ms. Hyde? Ms. Allen? Mr. Champagne?
Aye.
Ms. Earnshaw?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Motion carries. You still want to separate out item B? This disbursement of funds from capital reserve. I believe that was the Jefferson Chiller replacement.
Can I be on there?
Yes.
I apologize, I see on my answer, I mean, I was quite late last night. when I was looking.
Okay, so C is the only one that's separate?
Yes, it's a question.
All right, so we will start then. Our next motion I'll entertain will be on item 6B, disbursement of funds, please.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Mrs. Allen, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Donatelli?
Aye.
Ms. Hyde? Ms. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Champagne?
Aye.
Ms. Fuller? Dr. Bacher?
Aye.
Mr. Earnshaw?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Motion carries. Next, item 6C, may I have a motion, please?
Second.
Discussion on the motion? Dr. Miller?
Yeah, I just would like to get a little background on exactly what this is. I'm not familiar with it.
So there are 9 school districts within the Hyde County. 8 of them, all of them except the Allentown School District, participate in the Lehigh Schools Consortium Trust. We pool our medical insurance among the 8 districts, plus the intermediate. Does the IU participate in that? I know LCTI does. I think they do. And so the idea is that they spread the risk pool over a greater number of participants. So all the districts are self-insured, and then we pay an additional percentage as an administrative fee to the company that does the actual administration, whether it's Highmark or Capital. We've gone back and forth between the two. So that consortium of those 8 school districts plus LCTI and the IU, we have a representative from the district who meets with them, and they evaluate every 3 years. We put it out for bid for a new administrative contract. They work on preparing the bid documents, evaluating the bids. They discuss strategies for cost reduction and so on.
Okay, so right now, Mr. Shaw in charge of maybe the designee for this.
He would be our representative, the district's representative.
And before him, was it Mrs. Serval? Same position, same thing?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's kind of where I was going with it. Thank you. That's fine.
All right. Any other discussion on the motion? Mrs. Allen, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Champagne?
Aye.
Ms. Fuller? Dr. Bacher?
Aye.
Mr. Donatelli?
Aye.
Ms. Hyde? Mr. Earnshaw?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Motion carries. Mr. Donatelli asked that we separate out item D4, so I'll take a motion on items D1, 2, and 3, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Ms. Hyde?
Did we always have the product from the CLIU 21? This is brand new.
This is new.
And how many students did we get with this?
Well, we have about 40 students this past year who were in the cyber program.
If I could just interrupt for a second. Which one? 1 and 2 are both with the IU?
Sorry, one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So this is the Ed Mentum with Study
Yes.
Island?
Yes.
Study out. How many students? Pretty much all of them. Elementary and middle school,
Elementary, middle, and high school.
pretty much all of the
Okay.
students.
That's what I was curious,
It's,
if it was getting used.
It's a really widely used program, not only in this district, but probably most districts in the country.
Oh, I don't remember voting on it before. Thank you, I was just curious how many students used it.
It's available through, the students are able to log in from home if they have a computer with internet access. I have my children make use of it from time to time. And it provides extra study helps, extra exercises. If there's a spot they're struggling with, they can use that. And I think it also has some general reviews.
Mrs. Campbell, is there anything you'd like to add to that regarding Study Island? I just know it's such a popular program, we might as well.
It was well summarized, but Study Island is an online suite of instructional tools intended for teachers to use with their students. And as you heard, one of the other features, in addition to the online activities that teachers can differentiate or customize for students based on needs, another key part of Study Island is benchmark assessments that we use, again, at the elementary, middle, and high school level that students can take online, and it actually identifies them for teachers areas in which students are performing well, as well as areas in which students need further instruction and follow-up. And then there's also, as part of Study Island, there is an assessment builder as well that teachers can use to generate assessments. So it's a complete package.
We've been using it for many years now. I don't remember how long ago we brought it.
We have actually at the elementary level in grades 3 through 5, we've been using it since 2007. At the middle level, we started using it in 2014, and we've had it at the high school since 2013.
You may not have. We've been bringing contracts to you, all contracts to you. There's always been a debate prior years as to whether a contract should be brought to the board or not. We're bringing all contracts to you. So I can't speak for prior to me being here, but here it is now.
We have a discussion on the motion? Is that one?
I just had a question. I was hoping to actually get to see it myself so I could understand what this is, but I was wondering how much time it takes for the teacher to put in these individual concerns for students. Is it a time-consuming thing? Or?
For Study Island? Mrs. Campbell, would you mind answering that?
The benchmark assessments are taken whole group, and then at that point, it really is, it can be a matter of minutes in terms of the benchmark assessment would then print out, for example, if you were one of my students, it would print out what particular areas you performed well in and what areas you need, according to state standards, what areas you need further instruction and or practice in. So then as the teacher, I would focus on those areas where I know you need some additional support. And those would be the areas in Study Island that I would just click on, and those would be your customized activities.
Is that like a pre-test or a post or both? Or?
We use the assessment piece, we do benchmarking, we do it 3 times a year. Typically fall, midwinter, and then spring.
Thank you, Mrs. Campbell. Any other discussion on the motion? Mrs. Allen, will you please call the roll?
Dr. Bacher?
Aye.
Mr. Donatelli?
Aye.
Ms. Hyde? Aye. Ms. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Champagne?
Aye.
Ms. Fuller?
Aye.
Mr. Earnshaw?
Aye.
7-9.
Motion carries. May I have a motion on item D4, please?
Second.
Yeah.
I got a little information from Mr. Sullivan. Please type in.
Sure.
Is there a cap on this fee that's associated with this? Yeah.
Is associated with this contract specifically? Yes, it's the $8,300.
Is that the same last year?
The previous time, I believe it was 83 as well. When they finished the project last time, it actually came in slightly less than 8,300 because they present that as a cap.
This is the thing you were explaining to me with the audit that actually saves the school district money.
Well, what I was saying is, we have chosen to use the program put together by the Pennsylvania Trust, which engages Conrad Siegel Actuaries, which is a very reputable firm in the state of Pennsylvania to do this actuarial work for us. If we were to go out, there's about 75% of schools use Conrad Siegel. There may be about 25% they go out on their own. But if you go out on your own and pick another actuary, it may not be as reputable, may not be known by your auditor. Your auditor would be required to do extra work to become comfortable with the report that's being presented. Because our auditor works with 18 or so other districts, and most of them use Conrad Siegel, they have a level of comfort. So we're not needing to pay extra money to our auditor. One, because we've used them in the past, and 2, because of their Conrad Siegel's reputation and the use by other districts. So in terms of saving us money, it's because we've chosen to go with a reputable firm. It costs us money to comply with this GASB pronouncement.
So I was no familiar with it.
Sure. Would it help to just have a brief summary on what GASB is?
Sure.
So in the commercial world with companies, you've probably heard of generally accepted accounting principles or GAAP. Government bodies do not use GAAP. They don't use generally accepted accounting principles. Instead, they use the methodology specified by the government, is it agency standards for government accounting standards for. That's it. And the chapters that are referenced here, 45 and 75, these were put into place sometime last 5 or 6 years, wasn't it?
45 was about maybe 7 or 8 years ago now. 75 is actually new, it's an enhancement to 45.
So this is a set of requirements that were placed upon the district, as I recall, is to put an actuarial value on post-retirement benefits promised to employees. So if there's an employee that has some kind of a post-retirement benefit, whether it's healthcare services or pension benefits, this is a way for them to assign a liability to the district, a future liability. So that was required under GASB 45. That was, what do we call it, note that they issued, is that what 45 was?
45 was a pronouncement. Right. But their pronouncement resulted in notes to our financial statements that disclosed the information you described, right? Yeah.
So it's a regulatory thing that was imposed upon school districts and other municipalities, not just in Pennsylvania, but not everywhere in the U.S. Right. I think other countries have different standards, workers and bodies and things. Does that help?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Any other discussion on the motion? Mrs. Allen, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Hyde. Ms. Allen.
Aye.
Mr. Champagne.
Aye.
Ms. Fuller. Dr. Bacher.
Aye.
Mr. Donatelli.
Aye.
Mr. Earnshaw.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Motion carries. Next, may I have a motion on item E, please?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Mrs. Allen, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Champagne.
Aye.
Ms. Fuller. Dr. Bacher.
Aye.
Mr. Donatelli.
Aye.
Ms. Hyde. Ms. Allen.
Aye.
Mr. Earnshaw.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Motion carries. Next, item F, it's our final item under section 6. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Donatelli, you have a question about this?
Yeah, what happens if, in the middle of this, if we do choose to vote on this in 10 years, if someone sells the property, is it able to be rezoned? And if it is able to be rezoned, do the new people, I assume the new people have known it, or even if the current owner wants to rezone it and sell it, do they have to pay retroactive on those taxes, on that breakdown of the taxes?
As I recall, they do.
Well, it's the terminology that causes it. The mere fact of the sale is irrelevant.
Okay.
So if you have your property, for example, in open spaces, that term is defined, you sell it to me, that doesn't mean that any rollback taxes have to be paid. If you then, if me as the new owner, then does something that takes the property out of open space, then rollback taxes kick in. If a mere sale in and of itself doesn't.
Okay, so they sold the development rights basically back to the county and frozen their village assessment. So if they choose to then develop the property at some point, yes, then all those taxes have to be paid.
And it's only retroactive in this time period. So if they did it next week, after the new one's in place, the last 10 years does not count?
Well, right now, we're still in the current one, even if the board approves it tonight, because it takes both the county, which has already approved it, the school district, if you approved it, and the municipalities. And to the best of, I can tell you that Upper Milford is scheduled to act on this in September. To the best of my knowledge, Lower Macungie has yet to act on it, although that may be forthcoming very soon. So the answer is you only go back into the same thing will apply. It's just in this, it's just that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion? Mrs. Allen, will you please call the roll?
Dr. Bacher.
Aye.
Mr. Donatelli.
Aye.
Ms. Hyde. Ms. Allen.
Aye.
Mr. Champagne.
Aye.
Ms. Fuller. Mr. Earnshaw.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Motion carries. Next, we have a motion on item 7, curriculum, please.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion on the motion? Mr. Donatelli?
Yeah, on the exhibit, it lists 3 days. I guess I was just curious, do all these teachers go all 3 days, or they manage to go one of those?
All 3 days. It's a 3-day workshop at Berks County IU. And it's a great opportunity for us, which is why you see so many people down there for us to send as many people as we can. This presenter, Dr. Thomas Gusky, is nationally, internationally known in the area of grading, reporting for students. And we've been reading him for years, and he's right here, and it wasn't that expensive, so it was an incredible opportunity to send a lot of people, including myself.
Saw that. Any other discussion on the motion? Mrs. Allen, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Champagne?
Aye.
Ms. Fuller?
Aye.
Dr. Bacher?
Aye.
Mr. Donatelli?
Aye.
Ms. Hyde? Mr. Earnshaw?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Motion carries. Next, we come to policies. We have, this is our first reading of the first half of chapter 300 in our policies. These are all related to employees of the district. So we'll start with number 301, please.
Okay, I have some changes on some of them as we go through, as a result of board members giving me some input. I do not have any changes on the first one, really.
Does anyone have any comments they'd like to make on 301? All right, 302.
Couple changes here.